What is your path to Dharma?
I know I am so excited for this chapter. Been thinking about it for 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have been just crazy
Um,
busy. Life happens. Another day of the Mahabharata War. Okay, so I'm on
Continues.
day what? Like I'm on day like 3 or 4 only now, or something crazy.
Yeah.
So maybe no, I'm gonna have different events happen. We'll see.
Well,
So
I always love to think that Krishna was just waiting for the perfect divine timing, for this information to come into our beings.
100% true.
So
I
I'm super excited that we're finally ready. I'm ready to receive this ancient wisdom. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Krishna, Vishnu, Saraswati, Narada, all of the above. I love you all. And I'm so ready. Do we have any announcements before we need to begin? Anything we need to chat about?
um, do we have Krishna fan club coming up this weekend?
Are you
Because
are
we
you gonna be home?
I'm not gonna be home, but I can be somewhere else to do it.
Oh, that's true. That is true. We don't need to do it
We don't
necessarily
need to be
together.
exactly together. I'll be at my mom's house, so I'll do it probably from there.
Well, that might be a fun little energy. See how
I
that is.
might,
We've never done Krishna Fan Club apart.
yeah, we haven't. So Krishna Fan Club, so tune in, spend a little bit. We didn't do it last weekend because we had other stuff going on. So
Yep.
here we are, fourth canto.
Fourth canto.
I can't,
Here we
first of all,
go.
how I can't believe how much we've already learned in the first three cantos. So the fact that we're
There's
about to
more.
start another one, and I just read like you, read the
Yeah.
titles, and it's like
Yeah.
already, I feel like the most giant book nerd on earth, slightly, but also it's like, what else is there except for universe information downloaded by the rishis and the sages? Like, what else is there? What else would you want to know on earth? It's
This has the Srimad Bhagavatam has single-handedly changed my perspective on everything in my life.
Yeah.
Everything. I wasn't even, and it's like even before reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, kind of feeling like I had a grounding into what it is to be a spirit soul. No, I wasn't even scratching the surface. And still, we're only on Canto 4, and still, there's the whole,
I
you
know.
know it, then you understand it, then you can
Yeah,
teach. Like, we're not even,
we're not.
this is just the very beginning,
We just
folks.
found out about Kapila. So
Exactly.
it's like let's bring it in a little. Let's bring it in. I just love the feeling of what it feels like to get ready to receive like beautiful higher information like this. So before we begin, let's do some obeisances, Shay.
Okay. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one must first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Hmm. Let's go.
I can
Um,
attest to that. I feel that in my bones when I read that.
I feel that. I gotta plug my computer.
Um, Shiva is going to unveil themselves in this canto.
I know. I
So
saw that.
we are now, Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth canto, part one, chapter one, entitled Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu.
Wow. Which, by the way, we didn't even introduce ourselves. I'm Shannon. This is my daughter, Shay. We're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. Welcome to our channel, the
Path to Dharma.
Path to Dharma podcast. We're very new to this, but also maybe not. Maybe we've read this 10,000 other lifetimes. Seems like we might have.
Seems like it. I need to be reminded on who is Manu.
Yeah, who is Manu?
Okay, you're not sure either, right?
Right. Okay. Um,
Can I just do a quick little Google search?
Absolutely. Please. Svāyambhuva.
Manu was the son of the sun god.
Okay.
He's given is a name given to the progenitor of humanity.
Oh, okay.
Manu is believed to be the first to appear during the beginning of each kalpa or eon.
Okay.
So that's who Manu is.
Sri Maitreya said, Svāyambhuva Manu begot 3 daughters in his wife Śatarūpā, and their names were Akuti, Devahūti, and Prasūti.
Devahūti coming back.
Ah, okay.
Akuti had 2 brothers, but in spite of her brothers, King Svāyambhuva Manu handed her over to Prajapati Rishi on the condition that the son born of her be returned to Manu as his son. This he did in consultation with his wife Śatarūpā. So Kuti is one of the daughters.
Okay.
She had 2 brothers, right?
Rishi.
Go
ahead.
No, I'm just kind of talking to myself. I think I got it though.
Okay. Ruchi, who was very powerful in his Brahmanical qualifications and was appointed one of the progenitors of the living entities, begot 1 son and 1 daughter by his wife Akuti.
Of the 2 children born of Akuti, the male child was directly an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his name was Yajna, which is another name of Lord Vishnu. The female child was a partial incarnation of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, the eternal consort of Lord Vishnu.
Manu very gladly brought home the beautiful boy named Yajna. And Ruchi, his son-in-law, kept with him the daughter.
Nope, you skipped a page, I think.
I did? No, I
Where
didn't.
are you?
I'm on Canto 4, text 5.
Sorry, I skipped a page.
No, it's okay. Manu very gladly brought home the beautiful boy named Yajna, and Ruchi, his son-in-law, kept with him the daughter Daksina.
The lord of the ritualistic performance of Yajna later married Daksina, who was anxious to have the personality of Godhead as her husband. And in this wife, the Lord was also very pleased to beget 12 children.
The 12 boys born of Yajna and Daksina were named Tosa, Pratosa, Santosa, Bhadra, Santi, Idaspati, Idama, Kavi, Vipu, Svana, Sudeva, and Rochana.
During the time of Svāyambhuva Manu, these sons all became the demigods collectively named the Tusitas. Marishi became the head of the 7 rishis, and Yajna became the king of the demigods, Indra.
Okay, so that's what we were talking before about how some of these god names are titles such as Indra is like a title, like a role he's taking. I think I'm catching that right. Obviously, someone will tell me I'm wrong. Okay. Manu's 2 sons, Priyavrata and Uttānapāda, became very powerful kings, and their sons and grandsons spread all over the 3 worlds during that period.
Okay, we've definitely heard a lot of these names before.
Yeah.
My dear son, Svāyambhuva Manu, handed over to his very dear daughter, Devahūti, to Kardama Muni.
Yes, okay.
I have already spoken to you about them, and you have heard about them almost in full.
Right, okay. Sorry. Okay. Svāyambhuva Manu handed over his daughter Prasūti to the son of Brahma named Daksa, who is also one of the progenitors of the living entities. The descendants of Daksa are spread throughout the 3 worlds. I don't know why I can't talk tonight. Sorry.
I feel the same way. You have already been informed about the 9 daughters of Kardama Muni, who were handed over to 9 different sages. I shall now describe the descendants of those 9 daughters. Please hear from me.
Kardama Muni's daughter, Kala, who was married to Marichi, gave birth to two children, whose names were Kasyapa and Purnima. Their descendants are spread all over the world.
My dear Vidura, of the 2 sons, Kasyapa and Purnima, Purnima begot 3 children, namely Viraha, Vis Visvaga, and Devakulya. Of these 3, Devakulya was the water which washed the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, and which later on transformed into the Ganges of the heavenly planets.
Wow, okay. Can we just pause on the pics real quick? Because the pictures in this book are really amazing. So these are scenes we probably haven't read yet.
So good.
But I really am excited to read them just looking. This one.
Of Sati?
Yes,
Is it
of
Sati?
Sati. Yes, this one.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Also, this one, Sati and Shiva. Right.
Oh, we're gonna hear their story. It
I know.
seems like.
I think we are. Okay. There's too many. We're not going to go through them all. Okay. Where were we? We are on text 16. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm still stuck on the
Anasuya. Is that where
pictures.
you're at? I know. So good.
I'm still okay, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Anasuya, the wife of Atri Muni, gave birth to 3 very famous sons, Soma, Datreya, and Durvasa, who were partial representations of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma. Soma was a partial representation of Lord Brahma. Daitreya was a partial representation of Lord Vishnu, and Durvasa was a partial representation of Lord Shiva.
After hearing this, Vidura inquired from Maitreya, My dear master, how is it that the 3 deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the whole creation, became the offspring of the wife of Atri Muni?
Maitreya said, when Lord Brahma ordered Atri Muni to create generations after marrying Anasuya, Atri Muni and his wife went to perform severe austerities in the valley of a mountain known as Riksha.
In that mountain valley flows a river named Nirvindaya. On the bank of that river are many asoka trees and other plants full of halasa flowers, and there is always the sweet sound of water flowing from a waterfall. The husband and wife reached that beautiful place.
There, the great sage concentrated his mind by the yogic breathing exercises and thereby controlling all attachment. He remained standing on one leg only, eating nothing but air, and stood there on one leg for 100 years. Okay, this is whenever I'm like, you know what? I'm trying to do something and pray to the gods and ask for something. This is the type of thing I think of. And I'm like,
Well,
someone stood on their leg for 100 years and eating nothing but air.
we are in Kali Yuga now. Okay,
Yeah, we probably can't pull that off. We probably can't. Yeah. I mean, imagine doing that for an hour.
I think
That'd be a lot.
I've seen a picture of a man who had his hand raised for Shiva for like quite some time, years.
Like 40
and
years or something?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So,
okay.
Text 20. He was thinking, May the Lord of the universe, of whom I have taken shelter, kindly be pleased to offer me a son exactly like him.
I mean, yeah, you're asking for a lot. You should be willing to stand on your leg for 100 years.
Yeah.
At the minimum, right? I mean,
minimum, yeah.
Okay. While Atri Muni was engaged in these severe austerities, a blazing fire came out of his head by virtue of his breathing exercise, and that fire was seen by the 3 principal deities of the 3 worlds. Wow.
At that time, the 3 deities approached the hermitage of Atri Muni, accompanied by the denizens of the heavenly planets, such as the celestial beauties, the Gandharvas, the Siddhas, the Vidyadharas, and the Nagas. Thus they entered the ashram of the great sage, who had become famous by his austerities. So they noticed him.
The sage was standing on one leg, but as soon as he saw that the three deities had appeared before him, he was so pleased to see them all together that despite great difficulty, he approached them on one leg.
Thereafter, he began to offer prayers to the three deities, who were seated on different carries, a bull, a swan, and Garuda, and who held in their hands a drum, kusa grass, and a discus. The sage offered them his respects by falling down like a stick.
I bet. Atri Muni was greatly pleased to see that the three devas were gracious towards him. His eyes were dazzled by the effulgence of their bodies, and therefore he closed his eyes for the time being.
But since his heart was already attracted by the deities, somehow or other he gathered his senses, and with folded hands and sweet words, he began to offer prayers to the predominating deities of the universe. The great sage Atri said, O Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, you have divided yourself into three bodies by accepting the three modes of material nature, as you do in every millennium for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all of you and beg to inquire whom of you three I have called by my prayer.
I called for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, desiring a son like him, and I thought of him only. But although he is far beyond the mental speculation of man, all three of you have come here. Kindly let me know how you have come, for I am greatly bewildered about this.
The great sage Maitreya continued. Upon hearing Atri Muni speak in that way, the three great deities smiled, and they replied in the following sweet words.
The three deities told Atri Muni, Dear Brahman, you are perfect in your determination, and therefore, as you have decided, so it will happen. It will not happen otherwise. We are all the same person upon whom you were meditating, and therefore we have all come to you.
You will have sons who will represent a partial manifestation of our potency. And because we desire all good fortune for you, those sons will glorify your reputation throughout the world.
Thus, while the couple looked on, the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshvara, disappeared from that place after bestowing upon Atri Muni the benediction.
Thereafter, from the partial representation of Brahma, the moon god was born of them. From the partial representation of Vishnu, the great mystic Dattatreya was born. And from the partial representation of Sankara, Lord Shiva, Durvasa was born. Now you may hear from me of the many sons of Angira.
Angira's wife, Srada, gave birth to 4 daughters, named Sinavali, Kuhu, Raka, and Anumati.
Besides these 4 daughters, she had also another 2 sons, one of them known as Uttatya, and the other was the learned scholar Braspati.
Pulastya begot his wife, Haviburu, one son of the name Agastya, who in his next birth became Dahagrani. Besides him, Pulastya begot another very great and saintly son, whose name was Visrava.
I mean, how crazy that these people made it into the Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, all
It's
these
like,
names.
it kind of reminds me in the Bible, there's some places in the Old Testament that list the kings and
Names.
in the names in the same way. It slightly reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Slightly. But this is like the gods of the universe, so that's even
Yeah,
10
right.
million times cooler.
Visrava had 2 wives. The first wife was in Idavida, from whom Kuvera, the master of all Yaksas, was born, and the next wife was named Cassini, from whom 3 sons were born, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhasana.
Gati, the wife of the sage Pulaha, gave birth to 3 sons named Kamarastha, Viriyan, and Sahisnu, and all of them were great sages.
Kratu's wife, Kriya, gave sex gave let me just start the names.
First
There's
of all,
so
the
many.
names, we're doing our best. Thank you for your patience with us.
Okay. I'm not laughing at the names, by the way. I'm just laughing at
No,
myself.
you're not.
Kratu's wife, Kriya, gave birth to 60,000 great sages, named the Valakhilas. All these sages were greatly advanced in spiritual knowledge, and their bodies were illuminated by such knowledge.
60,000?
60,000.
Was she pregnant 60,000 times? I mean, seven was a lot. 60,000. Wow.
Yeah.
The great sage Visita begot on his wife, Urja, sometimes called Arundhati, seven spotlessly great sages, headed by the sage named Citraketu. Chitraketu. Something like that.
The
Five.
name of these seven sages are as follows: Chitaketu, Suroshi, Viraha, Mitra, Ulbana, Vasubridhyana, and Duman. Some other very competent sons were born from Vastisa's other wife.
Chitti, wife of the sage Asvartha, gave birth to a son named Asvarsira by accepting a great vow called Dadyancha. Now you may hear from me about the descendants of the sage Burgu.
The sage Burgu was highly fortunate. In his wife, known as Yati, he begat two sons named Dhyata and Vidata, and one daughter named Shri, who was very much devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The sage Meru had two daughters named Ayati and Niyati, whom he gave in charity to Datta and Vidata. Ayati and Niyati gave birth to two sons, Merkanda and Prana.
From Merkanda and Markandeya, Muni was born. And from Prana, the sage Vedasira, whose son was Usana, also known as Kavi. Thus, Kavi also belonged to the descendants of the Burgu dynasty.
My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of these sages and the daughters of Kardama. Remember, there was the 100 daughters of Kardama
Yep.
and Devahūti, right? Okay. Anyone who hears the descriptions of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. Another of Manu's daughters, known as Prasūti, married the son of Brahma named Daksa.
Daksa begot 16 very beautiful daughters with lotus-like eyes in his wife Prasūti. Of these 16 daughters, 13 were given in marriage to Dharma, and one daughter was given to Agni.
One of the remaining two daughters was given in charity to the Pitraloka, where she resides very amicably, and the other was given to Lord Shiva, who is the deliverer of sinful persons from material entanglement. The names of the 13 daughters of Daksa who were given to Dharma are Srada, Maitri, Daya, Santi, Tusti, Pusti, Kriya, Unnati, Buddhi, Medha, Tiksa, Hari, and Murti. These 13 daughters produced the following sons. Srada gave birth to Subha, Maitri gave birth to Prasada, Daya gave birth to Abhaya, Santi gave birth to Sukha, Tusti gave birth to Muda, Pusti gave birth to Smaya, Kriya gave birth to Yoga, Unnati gave birth to Darpa, Buddhi gave birth to Artha, Medha gave birth to Smrti, Tikitsa gave birth to Kasemi, and Hri gave birth to Prasara. Murti, a reservoir of all respectable quality, gave birth to Sri Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay.
Boom.
Boom. That was a lot of names.
Which, when it said Pritaloka, Wisdom of the Sages came out with a new episode today that was entitled Livin' a Vida, or what do they say? Living a Brahma Loka. You know the song Living a
Yeah.
Vida Loka, Living a Brahma Loka. And I've been singing that all day. Like just that line I've been singing
That's
my head all
good.
day.
That's good.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Text 53. On the occasion of the appearance of Nara Narayan, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus in all directions the air, the rivers, and mountains became pleasant.
In the heavenly planets, the bands began to play and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven, known as the Gandharvas and the Kinnaras, sang. The beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets danced. And in this way, at the time of the appearance of Narayan, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers.
The demigods said, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the transcendental personality of Godhead, who created as his external energy this cosmic manifestation, which is situated in him as the air and clouds are situated in space, and who has now appeared in the form of Narayan Rishi in the house of Dharma.
Let that supreme personality of Godhead, who is understood by truly authorized Vedic literature, and who has created peace and prosperity to destroy all calamities of the created world, be kind enough to bestow his glance upon the demigods. His merciful glance can supersede the beauty of the spotless lotus flower, which is the home of the goddess of fortune.
Maitreya said, O Vidura, thus the demigods worship with prayers the supreme personality of Godhead, appearing as a sage, Narayan. The Lord glanced upon them with mercy and then departed for Gandamanda, Gana, Gandamadana Hill.
That Narayan Rishi, who is a partial expansion of Krishna, has now appeared in the dynasties of Yadu and Kuru in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna, respectively, to mitigate the burden of the world.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
The predominating deity of fire beget in his wife, Svaha, three children named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, who exist by eating the oblations offered to the fire of sacrifice.
Mm. From those three sons and another 45 descendants were generated, who are also fire gods. The total number of fire gods, therefore, is therefore 49, including the fathers and the grandfather.
These 49 fire gods are the beneficiaries of the oblations offered in the Vedic sacrificial fire by impersonalist Brahmins.
The Agnisvatas, the Barhisatas, the Sumyas, and the Ajyapatas. Nope. Ajyapas are the Pitas. They are either Sagnika or Niragnika. The wife of all these Pitas is Svada, who is the daughter of King Daksha.
This is one of those chapters. This is one
Thank
of
you,
those
everyone. Thank
chapters.
you. We love you. It's probably brutal to your ears, and we really apologize. Or maybe not. Maybe you're like,
Great
amazing.
job. Yeah,
Great
right.
job.
Text 64. Svada, who was offered to the Pitas, begot two daughters named Vayuna and Darini, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental and Vedic knowledge.
The 16th daughter, whose name was Sati, was the wife of Lord Shiva. She could not produce a child, although she always faithfully engaged in service of her husband.
The reason is that Sati's father, Daksa, used to rebuke Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. Consequently, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up her body by dint of the yogic mystic power.
Okay. I think we got all the genealogies now kind of listed. And now we're getting into chapter 2. Daksa curses Lord Shiva. Why
Let's
doesn't
go.
Daksa like Shiva? Are we going to
Well,
find out?
yeah, we
We're
are.
going to find out. Okay.
I think we've heard this story. I think I know this story.
I mean, I've heard this story a little bit, but I don't know why Daksa doesn't like Shiva. So,
Well, let's find out.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Vidura inquired, why was Daksa, who was so affectionate toward his daughter, envious of Lord Shiva, right?
Why?
Who is the best among the gentle? Why did he neglect his daughter Sati?
Good
Yeah, what
question. I
is
wonder.
up?
Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the entire world, is free from enmity, is a peaceful personality, and is always satisfied in himself. He is the greatest among the demigods. How is it possible that Daksa could be inimical, inimical towards such an auspicious personality?
Right. My dear Maitreya, to part with one's life is very difficult. Would you kindly explain to me how such a son-in-law and father-in-law could quarrel so bitterly that the great goddess Sati could give up her
Mm.
life? Yeah, what happened?
The sage Maitreya said, in a former time, the leaders of the universal creation performed a great sacrifice in which all the great sages, philosophers, demigods, and fire gods assembled with their followers.
When Daksa, the leader of the Prajapatis, entered that assembly, his personal bodily luster as bright as the effulgence of the sun, the entire assembly was illuminated, and all the assembled personalities became insignificant in his presence.
Wow.
Okay.
Influenced by his personal bodily luster, all the fire gods and other participants in that great assembly, with the exception of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, gave up their own sitting places and stood in respect for Daksa.
Is that it?
Yeah, he doesn't
That's got to be it.
stand.
That's got to be it. Daksa was adequately welcomed by the president of the Great Assembly, Lord Brahma. After offering Lord Brahma respect, Daksa, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat.
Before taking his seat, however, Daksa was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him any respect. At that time, Daksa became greatly angry, and his glowing eyes, he began to speak very strongly against Lord Shiva.
Okay, so that's what it was. Why didn't Shiva get up? Does anyone know that answer?
Maybe hopefully
Maybe
we
we're
find
going to
out.
find out. Maybe we're going to find out. Okay. All sages, Brahmins, and fire gods present, please hear me with attention, for I speak about the manners of gentle persons. I do not speak out of ignorance or envy. Or, well, sometimes when people say that, that's like, hey, no offense, but, and then
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
about to offend you. So I don't know. Go ahead.
Daksa says, Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners. Because he is shameless, he does not know how to act.
He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter in the presence of fire and Brahmins. He has married my daughter, who is equal to Gayatri, and has pretended to be just like an honest person.
He has eyes like a monkey, yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are like that. He has eyes like a monkey's, yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are just like those of a deer cub. Nevertheless, he did not stand up to receive me, nor did he think it fit to welcome me with sweet words.
I had no desire to give my daughter to this person who has broken all rules of civility. Because of not observing the required rules and regulations, he is impure. But I was obliged to hand over my daughter to him just as one teaches the messages of the Vedas to a Sudra.
He lives in filthy places like crematoriums, and his companions are the ghosts and demons. Naked like a madman, sometimes laughing and sometimes crying, he smears crematorium ashes all over his body. He does not bathe regularly, and he ornaments his body with a garland of skulls and bones. Therefore, only in his name is he Shiva or auspicious. Actually, he is the most mad and inauspicious creature. Thus, he is very dear to crazy beings in the gross mode of ignorance, and he is their leader.
Wow. 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 On the request of Lord Brahma, I handed over my chaste daughter to him, although he is devoid of all cleanliness and his heart is filled with nasty things. Okay, you know what this reminds me of? Like when you secretly dislike someone and you just don't, you've never said it, you don't say it, but something happens, you just snap and you just let loose. That's what's
Yep,
happening right here. He didn't
yep.
get up, Shiva, and he's like, you know what,
That's
Shiva?
it. That's
That's
it.
it. You're a
Yeah.
weirdo. You're a
You got
naked
a monkey's eyes.
weirdo.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's wild.
Text 17. The sage Maitreya continued. Thus Daksa, seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him, washed his hands and mouth and cursed him in the following words.
The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all the demigods, should not have a share.
Maitreya continued. My dear Vidura, in spite of the requests of all the members of the sacrificial assembly, Daksa, in great anger, cursed Lord Shiva and then left the assembly and went back to his home.
Upon understanding that Lord Shiva had been cursed, Nandisvara, one of Lord Shiva's principal associates, became greatly angry. His eyes became red, and he prepared to curse Daksa and all the Brahmins present there who had tolerated Daksa's cursing Shiva in harsh words.
Anyone who has accepted Daksa as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of his envy and is less intelligent, and because of visualizing in duality, will be bereft of transcendental knowledge.
It's getting ugly. It's like they're thrown down.
Mm-hmm.
Pretentiously religious householder life, in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus also attracted to the superficial explanation of the Vedas, robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all.
Daksha has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnupada or Vishnugati and is attached to sex life only, within a short time he will have the face of a goat.
I did not expect this, y'all. We've been having like prayers and oblations, and we're going to insults. Those who have,
here.
right? Those who have become as dull as matter by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence are nascently involved in fruitive activities. Such men have purposefully insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in this cycle of repeated birth and death. There's your insult.
Yeesh.
Wow. May you keep getting born. Am I going to think that now? When I'm mad at someone. That's pretty harsh.
25. May
25.
those who are envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language of the enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull, always remain attached to fruitive activities.
He's still going. These Brahmins take to education, austerity, and vows only for the purpose of maintaining the body. They shall be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money, begging from door to door, simply for the satisfaction of the body.
When all the hereditary Brahmins were thus cursed by Nandisvara, the sage Bhrigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahminical curse.
Curses for everyone, apparently.
So Lord Shiva's associate curses everyone that was at the assembly.
Right.
And thus the sage Bhrigu is now cursing all of Shiva's followers.
Right. One who takes a vow to satisfy Lord Shiva or who follows such principles will certainly become an atheist and will be diverted from transcendental scriptural injunctions.
What do people make of this?
This is like your mama. This is like your mama. Oh, yeah? You're going to forget the Vedas. Oh, yeah?
Transcendental knowledge, not for you.
You're getting born again. Good luck.
So what do people think of this? Is this like still to this day? Anyone who follows Lord Shiva is cursed by this?
I don't know.
There's definitely Shivites. Like there's definitely people who follow Shiva. So I wonder what. Maybe it works itself out. Let's keep.
I don't know. We got to keep.
Text 29. Yeah. Those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other such things.
Bhrigu Muni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmins who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. Wow. You don't believe in God. Oh, yeah? You don't believe in God.
The Vedas give the eternal regulative practice principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was called Janardana. Janardana, the well-wisher of all living entities.
By blaspheming the principles of the Vedas, which are the pure and supreme path of the saintly persons, certainly you followers of Buddhapati, Lord Shiva, will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt.
The sage Maitreya said, when such cursing and counter-cursing was going on between Lord Shiva's followers and the parties of Daksa and Bhrigu, Lord Shiva became very morose. Not saying anything, he left the arena of the sacrifice, followed by his disciples.
So he just gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I'm out of here. The sage Maitreya continued, O Vidura, all the progenitors of the universal population thus executed a sacrifice for thousands of years, for sacrifice is the best way to worship the Supreme Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead.
Wow. Okay, so Lord Shiva's associate has cursed all of those people that we had just talked about. All those
Wow.
people that we just talked about right? They were all there at this assembly. Seems like.
Everybody's each side cursed the other.
Yeah. Yeah. So
People
all these
that
people are cursed.
Right. So it was like the people that thought Daksa was right and that Lord Shiva was being rude, they got cursed by Lord Shiva's side. Lord Shiva's side got cursed by Daksa's side. Well, that happened first. Daksa's cursed, then the other curse. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Okay, text 35. My dear Vidura, carry your bows and arrows. All the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of the Ganges and the Yamuna after completing the yajna performance. Such a bath is called Avabrita Snana. After thus becoming purified in heart, they departed for their respective abodes. Thus ending Chapter 2, Daksa curses Lord Shiva.
Okay, so Shiva leaves. Everyone does a bunch of sacrifices. They get in the river and go home. I'm slightly confused about that chapter. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we can keep going. Chapter 3. Seems like we got to keep going because that's just a weird place to end, right?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, okay. Chapter 3. Talks between Lord Shiva and Sati. Maitreya continued. In this manner, the tension between the father-in-law and the son-in-law, Daksa, and Lord Shiva continued for a considerably long period.
As you would think, after they just curse each other like that.
Right.
Well, Lord Shiva hasn't done a thing except for not stand up for Daksa.
Right.
That's all Shiva's done so far.
Right.
When Lord Brahma appointed Daksa the chief of the Prajapatis, the progenitors of the population, Daksa became very much puffed up.
Daksa began a sacrifice named Vajapaya, and he became excessively confident of his support by Lord Brahma. He then performed another great sacrifice named Braspati Sava.
While the sacrifice was being performed, many Brahmisis, great sages, ancestral demigods, and other demigods, their wives all very nicely decorated with ornaments, attended from different parts of the universe.
I love that.
Oh, this is the part. Yeah.
This is the part. The chaste lady Sati, the daughter of Daksa, heard the heavenly denizens flying in the sky conversing about the great sacrifice being performed by her father. When she saw that from all directions the beautiful wives of the heavenly denizens, their eyes very beautifully glittering, were near her residence and were going to the sacrifice dressed in fine clothing and ornamented with earrings and necklaces with lockets, she approached her husband, the master of the Bhutas, in great anxiety and spoke as follows.
Sati said, my dear Lord Shiva, your father-in-law is now executing great sacrifices, and all the demigods have been invited by him, are going there. If you desire, we may also go.
I think that all my sisters must have gone to this great sacrificial ceremony with their husbands just to see their relatives. I also desire to decorate myself with the ornaments given to me by my father, and go there with you to participate in that assembly.
My sisters, my mother's sisters, and their husbands, and other affectionate relatives must be assembled there. So if I go, I shall be able to see them, and I shall be able to see the flapping flags and the performance of the sacrifice by the great sages. For these reasons, my dear husband, I am very anxious to go.
The manifested cosmos is a wonderful creation of the interaction of the three material modes, or the external energy of the Supreme Lord. This truth is fully known to you. Yet I am but a poor woman, and as you know, I am not conversant with the truth. Therefore, I wish to see my birthplace once more.
O never born, O blue-throated one, not only my relatives but also other women, dressed in nice clothes and decorated with ornaments, are going there with their husbands and friends. Just see how their flock of white airplanes have made the entire sky very beautiful.
I love this scene, the thought of this, though, really. And so she wants to go.
Everybody
It's like the
flying.
party. First of
Yep.
all, it's the scene.
Yep.
She's like, I'm not missing the party.
Yeah.
O best of the demigods, how can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festive event is taking place in her father's house? Even though you may be considering that I have not been invited, there is no harm if one goes to the house of one's friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation. Okay, so they haven't been invited. She sees it
Yes.
and she's like, I want to go, let's go. It's my father's house. We can go whenever we want. We don't need an invitation.
Right. O immortal Shiva, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desire. You have accepted me as half of your body. Therefore, please show kindness towards me and accept my request.
The great sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the hill Kailasa, having thus been addressed by his dear wife, replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart-piercing speeches delivered by Daksa before the guardians of the universal affairs. Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't just say this to his friends. He announced this in front of everybody
to
about Shiva.
everyone. He announced it to everyone, and he laid into him.
The great Lord replied, My dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited, and that is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him.
Right. Although the six qualities, education, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and heritage, are for the highly elevated, one who is proud of possessing them becomes blind, and thus he
Mm.
loses his good sense and cannot appreciate the glories of great personalities. Yeah, that's true,
One
though.
should not go to anyone's house, even on the consideration of his being a relative or friend, when the man is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes.
I mean, good point, Shiva, right? Lord Shiva
Take note.
continued. If one is hurt by the arrows of an enemy, one is not as aggrieved as when cut by the unkind words of a relative, for such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. It's true.
My dear white-complexioned wife, it is clear that of the many daughters of Daksa, you are the pet, yet you will not be honored at his house because of your being my wife. Rather, you will be sorry that you are connected with me.
One who is conducted by false ego and thus always distressed, both mentally and sensually, cannot tolerate the opulence of self realized persons. You know what? Let's say that again, Shiva, because
Yeah.
that is so true. One who is conducted by false ego and thus always distressed, both mentally and sensually, cannot tolerate the opulence of self-realized persons. Being unable to rise to the standard of self-realization, he envies such persons as much as demons envy the supreme personality of
Mm-hmm.
Godhead. That's it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they are who they can't be.
Yeah.
And you don't like them then.
Yeah.
Yep.
My dear young wife, certainly friends and relatives offer mutual greetings by standing up, welcoming one another, and offering obeisances. But those who are elevated to the transcendental platform, being intelligent, offer such respects to the supersoul who is sitting within the body, not to the person who identifies with the body.
Okay, well, that's why I didn't get up.
Yep.
I'm always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva in pure Krishna consciousness.
Mhm.
Krishna consciousness is always pure consciousness, in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, is revealed without any covering. Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Therefore, you should not see your father, although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me. Because of his envy, O most worshipful one, he has insulted me with cruel words, although I am innocent.
If in spite of this instruction you decide to go, neglecting my words, the future will not be good for you. You are most respectable, and when you are insulted by your relative, this insult will immediately be equal to death. He warns her right there at the end of chapter 4.
Yeah.
Hey, well, we know what's going to happen next. I mean,
Yeah.
I d- it seems like we should just read it, right?
Sure.
I mean, it does. We don't normally do 4 chapters, but it seems like it seems like we're leading up to it. It's a weird place to stop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's go. Chapter
Chapter
4.
4. The sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva was silent after speaking to Sati, seeing her between decisions. Sati was very much anxious to see her relatives at her father's house, but at the same time, she was afraid of Lord Shiva's warning. Her mind unsettled, she moved in and out of the room as a swing moves this way and that.
Ah, she's pacing. Now she's pacing. What do I
Mm-hmm.
do? Sati felt very sorry at being forbidden to go see her relatives at her father's house, and due to affection for them, tears fell from her eyes. Shaking and very much afflicted, she looked at her uncommon husband, Lord Shiva, as if she were going to blast him with her vision. Ah, she's got the FOMO, and
Yeah,
now
she
she's like,
does.
it's your fault.
Yeah.
This is so lifelike. It is, though. This is so like human situation here.
Yeah. Thereafter, Sati left her husband, Lord Shiva, who had given her half his body due to affection. Breathing very heavily because of anger and bereavement, she went to the house of her father. This less intelligent act was due to her being a weak
Yeah,
woman.
she went. She went anyway. When they saw Sati leaving alone very rapidly, thousands of Lord Shiva's disciples, headed by Maniman and Mada, quickly followed her with his bull Nandi in front and accompanied her and sorry, with his bull Nandi in front and accompanied by the Yaksas. So they followed her.
Of course. The disciples of Lord Shiva arranged for Sati to be seated on the back of a bull and gave her the bird which was her pet. They bore a lotus flower, a mirror, and all such paraphernalia for her enjoyment and covered her with a great canopy. Followed by a singing party with drums, conch shells, and bugles, the entire procession was as pompous as a royal parade.
Okay, so they're like, you know what? If she's gonna go in style.
Yep,
She's the daughter of Daksa. We're not gonna let her just show up all, you know, just roll up on there with nothing. She then reached her father's house where the sacrifice was being performed and entered the arena where everyone was chanting the Vedic hymns. The great sages, Brahmins, and demigods were all assembled there, and there were many sacrificial animals, as well as pots made of clay, stone, gold, grass, and skin, which were all requisite for the sacrifice.
when Sati with her followers reached the arena because all the people assembled were afraid of Daksa, none of them received her well.
Mm.
No one welcomed her but her mother and sisters, who, with tears in their eyes and with glad faces, welcomed her and talked with her very pleasingly.
So it's like whispers, Sati's here. Oh, everyone talk
Yeah.
like Sati, you're Sati.
Mm-hmm.
Although she was received by her sisters and mother, she did not reply to their words of reception. And although she was offered a seat and presents, she did not accept anything, for her father neither talked with her nor welcomed her by asking her about her welfare. So he doesn't acknowledge her.
Present in the arena of sacrifice, Sati saw that there was no oblations for her husband, Lord Shiva. Next, she realized that not only had her father failed to invite Lord Shiva, but when he saw Lord Shiva's exalted wife, Daksa did not receive her either. Thus, she became greatly angry, so much so that she looked at her father as if she were going to burn him with her eyes.
Who said that look? The follower of Lord Shiva, the ghosts, were ready to injure or kill Daksa, but Sati stopped them by her order. She was very angry and sorrowful. And in that mood, she began to condemn the process of sacrificial fruitive activities and persons who are very proud of such unnecessary and troublesome sacrifices. She especially condemned her father, speaking against him in the presence of all. Okay, it's getting bad now. It's
Mm-hmm.
getting bad. So now she's going to start talking about him.
The blessed goddess said, Lord Shiva is the most beloved of all living entities. He has no
Hmm.
rival. No one is very dear to him, and no one is his enemy. No one but you could be envious of such a universal being who is free from all enmity.
Twice born Daksa, a man like you can simply find fault in the qualities of others. Lord Shiva, however, can only not only finds no faults with others' qualities, but if someone has a little good quality, he magnifies it greatly. Unfortunately, you have found fault with such a great soul.
It is not wonderful for persons who have accepted the transient material body as the self to engage always in the deriding great souls. Such envy on the part of materialistic persons is very good because that is the way they fall down. They are diminished by the dust of the feet of great personalities.
Sati continued, My dear father, you are committing the greatest offense by envying Lord Shiva, whose very name, consisting of two syllables, Shi and Ba, purifies one of all sinful activities. His order is never neglected. Lord Shiva is always pure, and no one but you envies him.
You are envious of Lord Shiva, who is the friend of all living entities within the three worlds. For the common man, he fulfills all desires, and because of their engagement in thinking of his lotus feet, he also blesses higher personalities who are seeking after Brahmananda,
Do you
transcendental bliss.
do you think that greater, more respectable personalities than you, such as Lord Brahma, do not know this inauspicious person who goes under the name Lord Shiva? He associates with the demons in the crematorium. His locks of hair are scattered all over his body. He is garlanded with human skulls and smeared with ashes from the crematorium. But in spite of all these inauspicious qualities, great personalities like Brahma honor him by accepting the flowers offered to his lotus feet and placing them with great respect on their heads.
Hmm.
Wow. So she's just really calling out her father.
Sati continued. If one hears an irresponsible person blasphemy, the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender, and after that one should give up his own life.
Therefore, I shall no longer bear this unworthy body which has been received from you who have blasphemed Lord Shiva. If someone has taken food which is poisonous, the best treatment is to vomit. Oh wow. So she's like, "You know what? I don't even want this body you gave me."
Yeah. It is better to execute one's own occupational duty than to criticize others. To execute, yeah. Elevated transcendentalists may sometimes forego the rules and regulations of the Vedas, since they do not need to follow them, just as the demigods travel in space, whereas ordinary men travel on the surface of the earth.
In the Vedas, there are directions for two kinds of activities: activities for those who are attached to material enjoyment, and activities for those who are materially detached. In consideration of these two kinds of activities, there are two kinds of people who have different symptoms. If one wants to see two kinds of activities in one person, that is contradictory. But both kinds of activities may be neglected by a person who is transcendentally situated.
Hmm. My dear father, the opulence we possess is impossible for either you or your flatterers to imagine. For persons who engage in fruitive activities by performing great sacrifices are concerned with satisfying their bodily necessities by eating foodstuff offered as a sacrifice. We can exhibit our opulences simply by desiring to do so. This can be achieved only by great personalities who are renounced, self-realized souls.
You are an offender at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, and unfortunately, I have a body produced from yours. I'm very much ashamed of our bodily relationship, and I condemn myself because my body is contaminated by a relationship with a person who is an offender at the lotus feet of the greatest personality.
Because of our family relationship, when Lord Shiva addresses me as Daksyani, I at once become morose, and my jolliness and my smile at once disappear. I feel very much sorry that my body, which is just like a bag, has been produced by you. I shall therefore. give it up.
Wow.
She's
She's
materially
mad.
she's materially detached as well. Like she said, there's
Yeah,
two paths in the Vedas.
right, right. Maitreya the sage told Vidura, "O annihilator of enemies," while thus speaking to her father in the arena of sacrifice, Sati sat down on the ground and faced north. Dressed in saffron garments, she sanctified herself with water and closed her eyes to absorb herself in the process of mystic yoga.
First of all, she
Wow.
sat in the required sitting posture, and then she carried the life air upwards and placed it in the position of the equilibrium near the navel. Then she raised her life air, mixed with intelligence, to the heart, and then gradually towards the pulmonary passage, and from there to between her eyebrows.
Thus, in order to give up her body, which had been so respectfully and affectionately seated on the lap of Lord Shiva, who is worshipped by great sages and saints, Sati, due to anger towards her father, began to meditate on the fiery air within the body. She's going to literally like self emulate, whatever they call it. Like, what?
Sati concentrated all her meditation on the holy lotus feet of her husband, Lord Shiva, who is the who is the supreme spiritual master of all the world. Thus she became completely cleansed of all taints of sin and quit her body in a blazing fire by meditation on the fiery elements.
Wow. Sent her own body up in flames. When
Yep.
Sati annihilated her body in anger, there was a tumultuous roar all over the universe. Why had Sati, the wife of the most respectable demigod Lord Shiva, quit her body in such a manner?
It was astonishing that Daksa, who was Prajapati, the maintainer of all living entities, was so disrespectful to his own daughter, Sati, who was not only chaste but was also a great soul, that she gave up her body because of his neglect.
Daksa, who is so hard hearted that he is unworthy to be a Brahmin, will gain extensive ill fame because of his
Mm.
offenses to his daughter, because of not having prevented her death, and because of his great envy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
While people were talking among themselves about the wonderful voluntary death of Sati, the attendants who had come with her readied themselves to kill Daksa with their weapons.
They came forward forcibly, but Burgu Muni saw the danger and, offering oblations into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, immediately uttered mantric hymns from the Yajurveda, by which the destroyers of yajnik performances could be killed immediately. Whoa, it is getting ugly at this thing.
Yeah.
Holy, this
When
party went south.
mhm.
I'm saying didn't go.
Well, it all happened as it
Yeah,
should.
yeah, 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 yeah.
When Burger Muni offered oblations in the fire, immediately many thousands of demigods named Rubus became manifested. All of them were very powerful, having achieved strength from Soma, the moon.
When Rubu demigods attacked the ghosts and Guyakas with half-burned fuel from the Yajna fire, all the attendants of Sati fled in different directions and disappeared. This was possibly simply because of Brahmanical power. Okay, so basically scatters everybody. Everybody
Yeah,
scatters. Right. Okay, you know what? That's the end of it.
yeah.
Okay. That was quite the scene we read there. Wow.
I'm in that. I
Wow.
feel
Like I
that.
literally want to keep going to see what happens.
I know. I know.
But we are going to stop right here at chapter 5. That was good. Okay, so let's just sum it up a little. Shiva
I
doesn't stand up when Daksa comes in. Daksa gets mad. Both sides curse each other. So it's already bad. Then Daksa decides to have a big old party. He doesn't invite Sati and Shiva. Sati goes anyway. She gets extremely mad, insults her father, decides to literally just like burn herself in meditative fire. And one of the other sages comes in, spreads some fire around, just like, that's it. Party's over. Everyone's lights on. The kegger is over.
Yeah.
Gone. Everybody's out. The police are here. Fire trucks coming in. It's done.
I think
Okay.
what has us keep reading too is like we're familiar with this story, so we
Yeah.
know what's coming, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like, all right, we're not gonna stop until Sati quits her body. And now it's like, okay, well, what is Lord Shiva gonna do next?
All right. She was going to have a reaction to this, which we
You would
know.
think so.
You know he
Yeah.
is. You know he is. I mean, I've heard this story, but wow, that was quite a scene. I didn't know it got that
Quite a
and
scene.
didn't know it got that ugly. But
Everybody tell us, like,
what's
your
up?
thoughts on this. What's
Yeah.
up with this?
It's
What
quite
is the spiritual meaning behind all of this? Yeah, I
right.
would love to hear just what people's interpretation of this is. Yeah,
Yeah,
let us know,
same.
please.
Well, I can't wait to keep going. And thank you so much for staying with us. If you're still here watching at this point, thank you. Bless you. Give us your questions, give us your comments. We send you love and blessings, and um, thanks for helping us understand
Yeah,
what we're even reading here. So
absolutely.
I think we'll
Well,
wrap it up.
Hare Krishna. Until next time.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you at
Love ya.
Krishna Fan Club.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.